What's going on, guys? We have some streamer news, we have some gaming industry news, we have all kinds of news going on today. So look forward to that. Lots of good stuff happening. Just I can't wait. So here we go. And we should be live now on YouTube as well. Hope you all are having a wonderful time, wonderful day, wonderful holidays. Merry Christmas to everybody. And let's get into it today. So, I found an article, The Gamer. Uh, they are moderately okay. Sometimes they're pretty dumb, sometimes they're pretty smart. It just depends on who's writing the article for The Gamer. This one is this article seems to be half right, at least when it comes to some of the the basic like when it comes to Final Fantasy. Yes, when it comes to the one they think is the best Final Fantasy and how it's related to Clair Obscur, very incorrect. The obvious thing that everybody saw at the Game Awards is that the creator of Clair Obscur credited Hironobu Sakaguchi. And Hironobu Sakaguchi is the one who created Final Fantasy, and he is the director and producer of the best Final Fantasy, which is Final Fantasy IX. But here we have a title: Clair Obscur Expedition 33's popularity has fans finally recognizing the best Final Fantasy. So, again, here we have this article making a pretty bold claim. It's right about Final Fantasy. I think it's going to be wrong about which one. So, I mean, and especially when it comes to with regard to which Final Fantasy he's talking about, because obviously Clair Obscur has a crap ton of Final Fantasy inspired game mechanics and features that he credited Hironobu Sakaguchi for inspiring him, the creator of Clair Obscur. So we have the article. I'm not sure what else you can say about Clair Obscur Expedition 33 these days. Not only has it managed to capture the hearts and minds of almost everyone, it's also managed to snag top spot in the gamer's final game of the year list. Obviously, we all saw the Game Awards. Very true, very deserved. It's an incredibly popular game, he writes, but it arguably wouldn't exist without the decades of influential JRPGs that came before it. And it's more clear that Final Fantasy has been a huge inspiration for developer Sandfall Interactive. Therefore, it makes a lot of sense, and we're just going to kind of bulldoze through this, for fans of Clair Obscur to start checking out the games that influenced it, and the Final Fantasy series is as good of a starting point as any. Um, However, there does appear to be one particular Final Fantasy game that Clair Obscur fans are urging each other to play more than any other, and that's just because it's the most popular, and it just so happens to be the best one. And he's wrong. Final Fantasy IX is, because he's claiming Clair Obscur Expedition 33 fans are urging each other to play Final Fantasy X. Now, that may be true. It is definitely sold more. Um, of the Final Fantasies, it and 7 are arguably the most popular, obviously. Um, but 9 is the one that inspired Clair Obscur. And this is obvious because Hironobu Sakaguchi was the director of 9. It had an overworld, a traversable overworld map, which Clair Obscur Expedition 33 had. Final Fantasy X does not. It doesn't have. There are so many of the features that Final Fantasy X completely lacks when you're comparing it to Expedition 33 that Final Fantasy IX does have. So he's wrong about which Final Fantasy, but I love Final Fantasy X. It's a fantastic game. I certainly would agree to other players who like Clair Obscur to try Final Fantasy X. It's a turn-based RPG. When it comes to the battle mechanics, uh, it's closer to Expedition 33 when it comes to any. It doesn't have, for example, any of the parry system or the dodge or the time events, the quick time events when you're attacking. But no, nevertheless, it is a fantastic, phenomenal game. I love Final Fantasy X. When it comes to story, it's eh, not not really the same. It's just not. There's way too many. There is uh, a story about a doomed world, essentially. There's a story of grief, but Final Fantasy X has all those things, or Final Fantasy 9 has all those things. Plus, the mechanics of the game, the way the game operates, the way you progress through the game in Final Fantasy 9 is far closer, far more related, almost a one-to-one in so many ways when it comes to abilities, progression, learning abilities, the overworld map. Again, there is so much to be said about the fixed camera positions for Final Fantasy IX that Expedition 33, has a lot of throwback areas that are reminiscent of that. And 10 just doesn't have it just doesn't have that. Um, it just doesn't. It's lacking so many of those wonderful elements that E33 has. So here we have over on the Expedition 33 subreddit, a user called blah 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 shared an image of Clair Obscur and Final Fantasy X side by side, calling the latter a must play. And even though it's an older title, they think that it's just a wee bit better overall. They even go so far as saying that Final Fantasy X is the easiest recommendation I can give if you liked E33. I would say 9 is, not 10. But that's just like, this is objectively true. 9 is better. I mean, 10 is more modern, it has better graphics, so if that's what your concern is, then yeah, 10, fine, that's, whatever. But 9 is the better game when it comes to um, the world building, the gaming map, everything about traversing Expedition 33 is something you can do in 9. You can't do that at all in 10. In fact, everything is on rails. The areas are single focused traversable areas from area to area to area. There's no overworld map. There's nothing. There's literally nothing to be said about the way the world is connected at all, and you have to do a whole lot of backtracking on foot to do anything or get anywhere. It doesn't have for example, E33 has the airship mechanic that 9 has via Esquier, and 10 does not. As far as a traversable world map vehicle, right? Expedition 33 has that in spades for different ways to traverse the world and get to different locations, find and discover, zones that you can totally miss or otherwise wouldn't discover if you don't explore that overworld. 10 doesn't have anything like that, not even close. It has a 2D world map that when you're on the quote airship, you select a location and you just appear there. It's a loading screen. You're not actually using the airship at all in 10. It has absolutely nothing in common from that perspective with Expedition 33. So plus 9 is just a better combat system. It's just better. Unsurprisingly, the comments are filled with but again, if it sounds like I'm dogging Final Fantasy X, I'm certainly not. I love Final Fantasy X. It's a fantastic, wonderful, amazing Final Fantasy game, a great addition to the series. It was transformative, revolutionary, had, these CGI graphics that were amazing. These cutscenes fully voice acted. So in that regard, there obviously is a lot to be said. But Sakaguchi, the hero that the creator of Expedition 33 cited as his inspiration and hero for making games, had nothing to do with 10. So again, it's all about 9. It's all about, like something like 1, 5, 9, 4, 7, and 8 even, right? So Kitase did 7 and 8, but still, it's all about Hironobu Sakaguchi and his vision for an overall experience with a game. If you're looking at the overall experience, 9 is just worlds closer. But I love 10. It's fantastic, and I certainly don't and would not say to not try 10. You absolutely should. It's a fantastic game. So yeah, that's what we have here. I obviously think this is a big deal when it comes to what Final Fantasy is going to look like in the future. I really do. I know that there was investors or shareholders rather that put messages on Twitter encouraging Square Enix to use and look and review and study Expedition 33 as an example to inspire them for future projects in the series. And I would 100% agree with that. I think that's just basic common sense to have if you're Square Enix. So that's going to be it for this bit of the live stream. We are, of course, live on Kick, Twitch, and YouTube. So please join us there. Links will be in the description below on the YouTube side of the VOD that I'll upload for this video. We're going to make this real short and sweet, guys, but hope you enjoyed. And like and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one. So hey guys, I'm just gonna answer a message from a family member here. So the next topic, I watched a little bit of the Star Citizen Future Plans Revealed, a letter from the chairman, which is Chris Roberts. And I do want to cover a little bit of this, but first, let's go ahead and get into this video. Star Citizen versus Elite Dangerous versus No Man's Sky. I have played versus X4 Foundations. Now, I really am looking forward to playing X4 Foundations, but I've played the other 3, so I'm eager to see what this video is all about. I'm going to go ahead and preemptively like, because I just love this kind of content. Let's get into it.
So, yet another year passes, and the 3
we have the Star Citizen versus Elite Dangerous versus No Man's Sky versus X4 Foundations. Again, on the live stream, I let chat know, guys, I have already played a lot of the first 3. I'm eager to and have downloaded X4 Foundations. Where's it at? There it is. And we're going to go ahead and just add to favorites so that it's up there at the top. But so I'm eager to try that game. I have played the previous 3, and I'm eager to see what this is all about, what kind of comparisons he's going to make, so let's get started.
3 main space sims are still doing their own things. And also X4 was there. So, like every year, Yamix is taking his big bloody beating stick to check the pulse on the usual suspects and see what they've accomplished. Or stopped moving entirely. Was it a good year, a bad year, or maybe it was simply one of those years of all times? And to just make it a bit more fun, compare each one of them and see which one won the Space Dad's award or the Space Nerd's hearts. Star Citizen, the Ultra Mega Poly Eternal Tech Demo. Elite Dangerous, the most complete, stagnating pool of great experiences. No Man's Sky, the Kitty Crayon Vomit Gem. of the gaming industry. And also X4 was there. So, which one's actually worth playing? Or which one are you even rooting for? Well, let's take a look. Since every year, I try to mix up the order in which we slice open and examine these pioneers and pinnacles of what space sims have to offer, well, this year, let's kick it off with the most polarizing one, Star Citizen, and the amazing Dig That.
Most of us here, in the back of our head, have had a dream game in mind. The one where you pilot a futuristic spacey ship through the void, seeing incredible sights, landing on alien planets to walk through exotic flora, geology, and atmospheres, watching impossible alien animals roam the frontier before heading somewhere with a cityscape to trade what you found in the wild for better ships and better equipment, finding yourself in the middle of an adventure with space pirates, then after winning the battle, trying to keep your ship in one piece, fighting fires, making repairs, and rigging up your systems and engineering so you got enough power to limp back home to get your ship back in fighting shape before the next.
Yeah, it is. They've had some updates that have fixed a lot of the quality of life with Star Citizen. Again, in the live letter, we can go through some of that after this video, but I don't think Star Citizen is a scam. Obviously, I'm just going to say that outright. Obviously, they've worked really hard and released content. They've just screwed a lot of things up as they've gone along. They had to build a company from scratch in the first place, just to, as a caveat there, to really get you to understand this game has undergone countless iterations and setbacks because they didn't even have a company or a studio to build the thing. So they had to build that first. They did it with CryEngine, which is just like an awful. It's crashed. The company that makes CryEngine has crashed and just gone bankrupt because it was a horrible engine. At least it was a good engine for good graphic games for single player games, but it was horrible for MMOs and the online experience. So they had to scrap pretty much all their efforts, poured it to a new engine. There's so much developer trouble. So let's see if he gets into any of that.
Now, when it comes down to it in space games, there's some of
But again, still lots of progress. They're always working on it. They're constantly releasing patch updates. They are producing and putting the money that has gone into this project to good use. Well, at least I think so. I think they're doing that now. And from what I understand, we're going to see Squadron 42 released in 2026, but we'll see.
Got Elite Dangerous that has the flying through space part on lock. Nothing else touches that aspect of it yet. But for filling out the rest of the dream game that we've had since kids, Star Citizen been in hot pursuit through 2025 now. Since I last did this with Yamix Escobar, a lot has happened. The year opened with Quasi-Grazers, what everybody knows as space cows starting to make an appearance, expanding the animal kingdom with new variants based on the biomes they live in. Fauna is a crucial ingredient in the alive nachos, so every new one helps. Static server meshing, the biggest of tech milestones the game needed, was implemented, which finally uncorked the bottle for the genie to pop out and start unleashing some of the more interesting things we've been waiting on for quite a while. For those unfamiliar, server meshing turns single large universe shards into smaller connected servers to distribute the processing load, giving you better stability, higher player count, seamless movement between the servers, and the headroom to implement the more ambitious things in space life.
Yeah.
Guys, we just have to consider how much of a progress CIG is making right now. Is it stable? Probably not. But is there progress? Oh yeah. This is progress.
To paint the picture a little better, we're talking a huge player cap jump from 50 to 650 player shards. Virtual elimination of the 30K era crashes that plagued the game throughout development. And most dramatic of all, the first interstellar trip to a new star system. You can now navigate a wormhole with no loading screens to a whole new place in the universe called Pyro, with its own volatile star, 6 planets, 6 moons, 13 space stations, the first asteroid bases, and a unique culture among the inhabitants.
That's a lot.
The beginnings of a more nutritious MMO experience began. Contested zones.
That's a lot of content.
Dungeon/extraction shooter areas. Overarching narratives began. System-wide skirmishes expanded to an intergalactic conflict, as well as isolated medical anomalies becoming an existential threat. Rather than it just being lore that's broadcast in the background about them, both narratives requiring players to step into the story with their ships, gear, and investigative resources, and the collective actions of players spurred tangible changes in the universe. And this was just 2025's open in hand. Additional creatures were added, including the big Shai-Hulud apex predator Valakar, which serves as the finale of some of the new MMO-style raid gameplay. Players finally got served up with meaningful large group gameplay involving interlocking segments that had you flying from one planet to the next, assaulting facilities, risking radiation exposure, and looting the Valakar for rare items that could be traded with the first alien immigrant the game has seen in any form. Wickelow's Emporium full of curiosities emerged as the primordial version of crafting, where recipes of items...
Yeah, the sort of xenobiology that they're hoping to introduce and that I've seen, it's been very, very, very elusive. There's like one ship that I've seen that is supposed to belong to this, you know, alien race. So I'm just really eager to get to the premise of the single player release of Squadron 42, because that's gonna really build up the online, the MMO, the persistent universe. So
around the verse could be exchanged for unique useful items like weapons, ships, and even a combat mech suit. Other roads led to trading with Wickelow, like the Hazard
Wait,
facilities,
what?
Which is a
hold up, brother, that is wow.
combat mech
Wow.
suit. Other roads led to trading with Wickelow, like
I
the
love
Hazard
that.
facilities, which is a
We're in
sandbox
Helldivers,
activity
boys.
where you fight through facilities, gathering the items you need to power on an orbital mining laser that blows open a cave to mine rare material.
Can you just imagine Elite Dangerous, Helldivers, and No Man's Sky all together? Like, I mean, basically, Star Citizen is trying to be all of the other games mentioned in this comparison video all at once. I mean, that's the truth of the matter
And the
here.
Onyx facilities, which are a major component of one of the narratives and lead to all kind of missions, including a fight with a very impressively animated boss fight of sorts. For years, all the content we were delivered was just a new way to earn credits, which was cool, but it felt like a pretty static loop. Earn credits and buy ships till you got them all, or at least the ones you want. 2025's raids, dungeons, and sandbox activities, combined with an expanding reputation system with different factions, finally added progression to the game. Not the kind of progression with character level numbers and stats, but the organic kind with factions trusting you with higher tier work, gear, ships, and tools that have to be earned and can't be bought with credits or cash. But you can't hold a good citizen down. So inevitably, this led to the birth of the player economy. Not everybody's gonna want to run into a dark cave to kill Copians for their horns or pursue ace pilots with rare metals in their pockets. Before 2025, there wasn't much to buy from each other besides a few weapons that really weren't that hard to get. Now we got billionaires whose sole gameplay loop is arbitrage, buying low, selling high. Third-party marketplaces have popped up online to facilitate sales and trades. Quite the little capitalist revolution. Being such a large-scale game with so many details, big and small, you're bound to run into things of a more divisive nature. Can't please everybody, boss. Tier Z item recovery was implemented this year, which for some was the best thing since sliced space bread. It allowed people to finally wear their finest armor and weapons without worrying about losing it. If they were killed, they'd wake up in a med bed still wearing it instead of the medical gowns we had before. Kind of a big deal because it's a huge injection of diversity in the armor and weapons you see around.
Yeah,
the verse,
that's a
'cause you
pretty big
bring out the
deal.
Good stuff instead of
I do wonder how the PvP loot system is going to work in the PU, the persistent universe. So, I mean, we'll see how this goes. You know,
leaving it at home, which most folks appreciate. On the other hand, it also means those weapons and armor can't be looted by other players, which pisses some people off to no
see
end.
that? I don't know.
Punchline to that. These people are mad for real they can't take your stuff. But it's a temporary measure until the next two tiers are implemented, which will bring balance back to the force. Flight blades, which are components you can install in ships to give some stats a slight buff while slightly nerfing others, were initially sold on the RSI website for their first first run, which created some sensational headlines, and then everybody forgot about them once they were sold in game. Spawning and ship medical beds became a hot button issue till folks just accepted it. Unlimited respawns were out, and beds powered by consumable and very expensive med gel was in. Sounds simple on the surface, but it was a significant change to the dynamics and economics of gameplay. If a pirate boards your ship and murks you out, you can't respawn into the med bed ad infinitum like you used to. When the juice runs out, so does your shot at immediately retaking your ship. If you die, then respawn. A couple times while on a mission, you gotta restock your med bed with med gel, which costs 100K a pop. So that can cut into
the balance of cost, reward, and then grief on player dynamics in a PvP system. I mean, it's a hard thing to balance. It's a hard thing to balance.
Erase your profits.
It's not easy, guys.
The maximum distance you could be from the ship and still respawn into it, which the jury's still out on that one. The highest tier bed lets you respawn into it from across the solar system. So instead of putting those beds on ships that you would actually fly a smaller ship away from and maybe utilize that respawn range, well, they put it on a ship where you never actually need that and removed it from the capital ships where you just might use it. So 2025 ain't been all sunshine. In fact, been pretty rainy. The landscapes and the cities of Pyro always been picture perfect until CIG started unleashing dynamic weather systems. We went from 2D clouds to static volumetric clouds to dynamic volumetric clouds that moved and morphed naturally, some of which became storm clouds that make it rain harder than your favorite lap dance lounge. Storm clouds form, precipitation falls, water accumulates, making wet terrain, puddles, and a visibility hazard. And when it's really getting down, thunderstorms.
The ambition of Star Citizen sometimes.
Dynamic snowfall was also added in areas that already have snow, but since
it's just so massive, you know.
To the experience.
I hope they pull it off. I really do.
Citizen without new ships and whips. About 24, give or take, were released over the year. Too many to get into, but a simple but useful Anvil Asgard has secured a lot of hearts and minds in the verse. Some say it looks like the Chieftain, or the Halo Pelican, or the Aliens movie Halcyon dropship. I say it looks dope on the outside, but Spartan on the inside. Folks dig it though. But for me, the standout ship that really pours some Mountain Dew into the verse is the Gray's Market Shiv. It's a quote-unquote manufacturer that throws various salvage ship parts together to make one rickety junkyard ship for the masses to afford. Might sound like it's about to shake itself apart. Might not be the one you want to pick up the dancer from the lap dance lounge in. Or maybe it is. But it's a solid performer that gets it done, even if it ain't pretty. This is the type of thing I want to see more of. It's just a ship, but it makes things feel a little more real when there's a guy out there welding together used parts to sell to you to make a buck. It almost is pretty in this janky.
Yeah, right now it's the jank
star system
and stability that is this problem, but they're fixing a lot.
Built into a giant bored out asteroid, a new super dense asteroid belt called the Glacium Ring, where a lot
which
of
I hope
resources and
continues,
actions house,
honestly.
and among a lot of other things, clashes with the Vanduul. The Vanduul is humanity's main antagonist.
There we go. There's the xenobiology right here.
Up until now,
the alien races
that Squadron 42 revealed, and that one dead one being experimented on in the Onyx facility. But now they done showed up and showed out, crashing out hard with some mysterious human faction in Nyx. Nyx borders Vanduul space, so the incursions will be numerous and belligerent like Morbo's kids. It's good times for the OG backers who waited years for this fight. There have been way too many additions in 2025 to list them all here, so this list has been pretty condensed. But the biggest update is what we're testing right now. Engineering is the difference maker, more like a package than a single feature. It starts in the engineering section of your ship, which up until now has been pretty much useless. A panel gives you access to the ship schematic to track down problems, shut down power to specific rooms, or vent those rooms. You can also adjust and divert power, which isn't complete.
My biggest concern with a lot of this, guys, really, it is the hyper realism that has the potential to make the tedium and the very huge and very massive time investment of this game, like making it essentially unplayable.
New, but it's deeper, and you can create
for a lot of people.
Distribution. Why does this exist?
That's what I'm
Depending
worried
on the
about.
Quality or the condition of your ship components.
It takes so long to do just
you may be running up the temps
tedious
on
tasks, you know.
Fire is a new hazard you might have to deal with, either by venting the rooms to starve them of oxygen or grabbing a fire extinguisher to snuff them out. So now you got this.
See,
room system and life support to fill the rooms with air, and all this gives you choices. You could kill life support and not worry.
They need, if they want these things happening, because it would be ridiculous to, I just think the crew having to have like you got to have what, a guy on standby at all times to make sure that he's putting out fires on your ship.
But eventually you run
So
out
he's
of
standing
slots
around
and
doing
shit. And if
nothing
the cooler's output isn't enough, then
because
it's got to go
you
somewhere.
can't do anything
Crash
else
out.
if you're the one doing it. You can't fly the ship, you can't shoot your guns, you can't, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So it's like there needs to be a system of, you know, whether you're like
a space
buying
ballistic weapons.
operative AI bots, like robots that can do this on your ship, or hiring NPCs of some sort that can do this on your ship. Like, I don't know. There's got to be a system
Pierce your hole and
to make this something that a player doesn't have to like, because this is just tedious. It's hyper realistic. It makes sense. It's also makes the game less playable.
damaged components. So hopefully you got an engineer
less
on
fun.
board, or you'll have to decide between fight, flight, or running around repairing components by hand. To spell it out a little further, ships just don't run out of HP and explode anymore. a
It's
fight
also
to
not
immobilize
fun.
your
This is
opponent's
not a
ship.
fun
They need to
mechanic.
break or destroy them before they can run around and repair their
This
systems.
would be just an
It's not just a
annoying-
variable in the equation, which everybody
That would be just all that does. All that would serve is to add extra work to a game instead of extra fun.
has been around for years, has been waiting on, and has some newer people throwing their hands up like Willem Dafoe in Platoon. Not everybody cut out for this level of detail, but those folks can just regularly head to base for repairs. But where this really makes an impact is solo players and capital ships. Lone people using the Polaris or Idris to bully other players into submission will be critically demoted down the food chain. Capitals are designed for multiple crew members, and trying to take one into combat without anybody to keep an eye on temps, make repairs, put out fires.
Yeah,
that's
see?
all of it's food for anybody with
See, that's dumb. That's dumb. Like, nobody wants to play. Like, you're basically saying, so we need to have a player who's dedicated to being the janitor on board, or the the fire extinguisher guy. Keeping systems up and going. He's nobody actually wants to play a sim where they're doing that. Like, they want to be flying ships, shooting guns, raiding, doing the PvE, doing the PvP. Nobody wants to dedicate their whole entire role in a game like this to doing this. Like, nobody. Nobody's gonna want to play that role.
Strategy to damage their components. It's a brave new world. Not everybody's gonna be ready to navigate it. Beyond the nuts and bolts of gameplay, performance, I stopped using my frame counter except in the test build, so it's not something I'm actively thinking about, unless of course it's bad. And in 2025, haven't really thought about it. May have been small instances of noticeable drop frames here and there, but overall, night and day between the previous years. In the latest release of the brand new Nick system, we're talking little pockets here and there of 15 to 20 frames a second at the main hub. That was during testing and test servers at a shakedown flight. And since then, those pockets have been bumped up significantly in the live servers. So the moral of the story is, if I'm getting 60 to 120 frames on my old rig, then there's no reason folks with their fancy systems with 90 megs of cache and 64 plus gigs of RAM shouldn't be crushing it. Star Citizen is continuing through development, so bugs do exist. 2025 was
Yeah, that's
supposed
a
to be the year of
big plus.
playability, and I think they kind of shifted it.
Yeah, performance enhancements like that is absolutely critical. And if it really is that stable, performance-wise, that's a big deal.
Definition a bit to
That's
stability.
because it hasn't been like that for so long. But if in 2025, if that's what we're seeing with Star Citizen, I think that is the most critical thing about
Can't
the
eliminate all bugs
updating
develop at the
and
same time.
ongoing
But this
development
player has been around for over
of the
6
game.
years. I can tell you that this year has made it light years better for both bugs and stability. Crashes used to punctuate every session a minimum of 2 or 3 times an hour. Now it can happen on rare occasions, but it's no longer a fear in the back of every space trucker's mind. Still get a few little ticky-tacky things like a navigation hiccup every once in a while, trying to jump from place to place, which is annoying, but jumping to a random location solves that. Jumping through a planet is rare, but not impossible. But hilarious as long as it's someone else. Probably the most frustrating thing.
Yeah,
about
those
experience
bugs,
these days is
those
losing
stability
items.
bugs
Heard of
still-
folks being hard
they
on
still
items
exist,
like the
but I'm
load
glad
and
to
vanishing
hear
down the freight elevator.
that it's
I've
gone
lost a few
down a lot.
scripts, which is alt currency, like the Beskar bars Mandalorians get paid in. Some rare items don't survive new patches. I mean, it ain't end of the world type stuff, but it's not nothing. But they're under investigation along with a host of other things that not everybody will experience, but generates enough reports to throw on the to fix pile. I think there were 130 bug fixes the previous patch, so they cooking best they can. That's all you really ask. 2025 has seen the maturation iteration of Star Citizen. Not all there yet, but it's gone from 2024, where I had a lot of cool things to do, but getting rich was really the main drive for the bulk of players. The 2025 man, where engagement is driven by the narratives, progression, collection, and the player economy. Plus, getting rich, that'll never not be a thing. There may be engineering now, but this ain't Star Trek.
And so
Yeah.
not really dangerous, but the major general of dead horse pummeling, then the great and powerful Yamix. So in my mind, this is still the best true space sim with the most complete experience and
I mean, okay, so honestly, it isn't, because first of all, it's not a, you can't, the way you play with other people is too peer-to-peer, and I hate peer-to-peer. It's not a online server that everybody can just, like, things happen in the like save games of people's experience in Elite Dangerous, and you can't like, all you can see in of another, like, you can't affect the online world. There is no online server, right? I mean, there are servers, but what you're essentially doing is creating a pocket, an instance, and people have to join your instance. It's the most ridiculous. Like, you can't develop in Elite Dangerous, and other people can just that are online can just see everything unless they specifically join your instance. And even then, it's not like you can build a a player, like a player built base together. You can't do a player built city or base or anything. Like, there's nothing like that you can do. I just think Elite Dangerous is not the game.
Shell out obscene amounts of money for privilege goggles and immersion sticks. But that aside, the game focuses primarily on flying the spaceships more than anything else, despite having the buggies.
I know everything there is to know about Elite Dangerous. I've played it. I've put hundreds of hours into it, and I just don't like the fact that nothing I do matters to anybody else unless they join my instance. And the bugginess of joining other players' instances is just broken. It doesn't work. The game has no continuum that all players share. That is just why it sucks. As an online game, without that, you've defeated the whole purpose.
Oh well, what a perfect time to shift to a game.
This is a single-player game, and they're not trying to be, or at least I think it's a single-player game, from what I've understood. And they're not trying to have that kind of online shared experience MMO type game that Star Citizen is trying to have, and that Elite Dangerous pretends to have.
That was never really criticized for its monetization. Almost. And keeps delivering with high quality DLCs. I'm talking about X4 Foundations by Egosoft. I'm Captain Collins, and big thanks to Yamix for having me here to talk about its current state. Although the game's gigantic, I try to keep it short. X4 Foundations is space sim sandboxing at its finest. It's a solo experience in a fully simulated universe where you can make your own faction.
See, it's basically Elite Dangerous is a single player game. I mean, it really is. You can dogfight and that's it. But who cares? Like, there's nothing to be done about that. Like, there's no cons. The only con is you get destroyed. There's only cons to the online play of Elite Dangerous. So it might as well be a single player game. But it isn't. It pretends to have a persistent shared experience for players, and it's all just fake. This, at least, is honest about that. That's not what they're trying to do or achieve. And so the universe of, building your own empire in this single player experience for X4 Foundations, I am actually excited about this. And when the mood strikes you that you want to do that in a game, this, I'm hoping, is the game for you and for me on that front. I'm going to give it a go for sure here soon on stream, so look forward to that. Let's get into it.
You decide your playstyle. Fly around in a small ship to trade, mine, or fight, or manage an empire with massive stations, fleet, and diplomatic agents. The game is yours to shape as you like. There are story missions that add depth, but you're never forced down that path. And unlike many other space games, every trade impacts the economy, and every ship must be built from intermediary goods, made from raw materials that you or other factions mine and process. It's not just for your benefit, but for every faction in the universe. And the scale is staggering. From tiny fighters to capital ships, from stations to races to factions, there is so much to do, and that richness holds up for hundreds of hours of gameplay. Over the years, Egosoft has added a lot. 4 major DLCs have expanded the galaxy with new quests, stories, ships, characters, and mechanics. But more recently, there's been a shift in strategy. In February 2025, they released a smaller DLC, the Hyperion Pack. This added the legendary Hyperion, now a sleek expedition-class capital ship, plus a mission chain to unlock it, a new starting scenario, a new sector, and new music. Man, the music is awesome, I'll tell you that. Pro tip from me to you, it's on Spotify, and when you listen to it there while playing, you don't have to listen to eons of the same fighting music when doing combat. Yes, you're welcome. And alongside that came the 7.5 update, which completely overhauled the flight model. They revamped ship handling, reworked boosts to use its own energy pool, which is great, added a behavior inspection mode, and even improved graphics. They included...
Yes! Look at that!
This update was developed with help from a
This looks
Star
so
Citizen
good!
physics programmer, and as a result, flying now feels much more immersive and challenging. And by the way, yes, the AI uses that advantage. Then, more surprisingly, in September 2025, Egosoft launched the 8.0 Diplomacy update together with the Envoy DLC. The Diplomacy update is free for everyone and introduces an embassy room in your player headquarters where you can host faction ambassadors.
That's so
agents,
awesome.
Diplomacy and espionage specialists who you can send on missions to spy, negotiate, or even interfere in faction relationships. Yes, not just your own. And a system for diplomatic interference letting you trigger and manipulate political incidents from trade disputes to cyber warfare to shift alliances and economic networks. The Envoy Pack DLC adds 2 new ships, the stealthy Envoy, built jointly by the Argon Federation and Teladi Ministry
Okay,
of
this
Finance,
is...
and the mysterious
Yo, dude,
Scythe.
this is looking like my game for sure. It's basically what they're saying is it's build your own, you know, have your own immersive experience. You know, it's a Skyrim RPG in space, and then also build your own empire and sandbox it. That's
a
awesome.
pirate variant. The Envoy has a fully explorable interior, only the second M-class ship in X4 with that kind of detail, by the way. Plus, a new cloak stance for sneaky maneuvers, and even camouflage.
What?
So you can disguise your faction identity.
Holy
Just
cow.
like you knew from some missions in the game.
That
Now
is
you
so
can do that
awesome.
Whenever you want, on whatever faction you like. And on top of that, there's a new mission chain, a dedicated game start, fresh sector to explore, and of course, more music additions. They also released a hotfix, 8.0 hotfix 1, shortly afterwards, fixing some diplomacy agent bugs, improving ship behavior, and ironing out mission issues. So, what's next? Will we see more small ship packs, or are larger expansions on the horizon? Ubisoft hasn't revealed much. They remain tight-lipped about upcoming projects. They're a really good team, by the way, doing so. But the roadmap.
I hope
does
there's
mention
like, I
exploration.
wonder if there's a lot of
Levels,
voice
anomalies,
acting
new
and like
missions.
voice acting quests, like quest lines and storylines with voice acting and you know, compelling narrative. If you layered that on top of this game, oh my god, it's Mass Effect times a billion. Times a billion.
And deep space content are planned. Given the track record, I trust they deliver. And as Egosoft CEO
Look at that!
Lehan has said before,
That-
the galaxy
this
now
is so-
complete,
oh my gosh.
meaning they're likely to continue building
This
on the
is so
foundation
good.
we already have. More content, more systems, more sandbox to play in. For both veterans and newcomers. This means more to explore and more to master. Maybe even more overwhelm, but in the best possible way. I can't wait to see what comes next. And of course, thanks again to Yamix for having me, and thank you all for listening to my really short X4 talk.
Dude, that's awesome.
Finally, but most certainly not least, our friendly rags to riches success story in the whole
Yeah, we all know the success story, the comeback of the century that is No Man's Sky. Nothing to really see here that I don't already know. Let's go ahead to the summary. If you guys want to know about No Man's Sky, I suggest you watch other videos online because this is this is something that so many people and players have seen. Definitely should keep up to date with it. It's a fantastic, phenomenal success by the game devs, and they've just dedicated and devoted their whole, everything that they have into No Man's Sky, and it really shows. The disastrous launch deserved all the criticism that it got, and then their recovery and insane comeback deserves all the credibility just as much. So definitely look into that story. It's a phenomenal one, huge success, massive W for Star Citizen.
Alright then, so there it is, the short list of the 4 biggest space games out there. All of them close to a decade old, or more. And more than anything, it's rather fascinating to see how each of them struggled, succeeded, and failed in their own unique ways. Star Citizen once more donning its glossy coat and shiny suit to dazzle the whales, while the onlookers aside, like me, just yell out, "Hey, are you a real boy? I mean game. Are you a real game now?" while seeing this. Not to mention the ever-expanding, increasing, and bulging, you might say even bursting, microtransaction store filled with even more.
I don't
and
like
more
that.
things to
I
purchase.
don't
Not
like
only
that.
10,
Not
20
not even
bucks,
a
but
little.
100, 200, and more. It's a perpetually delayed microtransaction store with amazing marketing team. And I got plenty of things to say about it, but I'll leave it at that. Elite Dangerous releasing more ships and occasional features sounds like an enticing thing, yet there is a very noticeable change in monetization practices. A very dangerous dip into further exploitative microtransactions that remind you awfully lot of Star Citizen, but without the dazzle and pizzazz. Elite is getting more development and attention, that's for sure, but it comes with strings attached. Very smelly microtransaction strings that spell out 3 letters. Is the cost really worth taking on?
My understanding is that, first of all, there won't be any of that that I know of anyway. I mean, there might be DLC and package releases on top of Squadron 42's initial release, but the persistent universe, with the way the store is just egregiously, transactional right now, is to fund the development, and that when the game comes out, that won't be there in the same egregious way or at all. It's from my understanding, it's not supposed to be there at all. If that happens, W. Fund the project, fund the game's development to completion with all the egregious microtransactional bullshit you want. When the game comes out, that better be gone, because that player balance gets wrecked in environments like that.
To look and resemble Star Citizen? Or is there a better way? Well, we'll never know, really, as Elite has already chosen...
Because it's play to win right now, but it's in development, so nobody cares. It will have a fresh and complete and total wipe of everything when the official online MMO Persistent Universe of Star Citizen comes out 1.0, not alpha, beta, but the full game. That should be a complete total reset, and all the microtransactions gone. Period.
path, and I fear for the next year.
And people who bought into it initially, obviously, will get Squadron 42 for free and be able to play the online MMO for free. And then, of course, other than that, anybody else who wants to buy the game after this, of course, that doesn't have an already purchased account, like that base package, that $50 or like $49 package that came out 10 years ago, whatever. If they don't have an account like that, then obviously they have to buy the game. But buying the game outright, just standalone, nothing, no microtransactions or whatever, that's fine.
All the while, X4 chugs along in the background with yet another expansion release that comes with a little good set of features and an oddly good looking ships. Now for me, it's always been the accountant level of UI that turned me off, but it's still hard not to root for the little guy in the corner doing its own thing and actually succeeding. Sure, X4 community has grown slowly, but Steam charts don't lie. Every update, despite not having multiplayer or any other multiplayer features, like the rest of today's titles at least, X4 fans have stuck around. Hell, I'm even sticking around to tell you about it, so you go, X4.
Yeah, I'm excited
And
for
finally,
this.
No conversation is complete without the bestest boy. Not only in space sims, but gaming in general. No
As far
Man's
as
Sky.
monetization
And again,
goes,
releasing-
the biggest winner is absolutely without question No Man's Sky. It is the biggest winner. Big, huge, massive W for them. Shout out to No Man's Sky.
Even special events called expeditions. And the best that the space dads can do is cope as hard as they can, saying, "Oh, but it looks like a child's game," while grabbing their $1,000 immersion sticks and playing with their totally grown-up, super realistic space flight simulator ultra game they dumped thousands of dollars in through microtransactions. It genuinely is astonishing to see just how unreasonably positive No Man's Sky is, this year breaking their own records alone, and not even with the mega update Worlds Part 2 at the least, but with a smaller one where they copied Starfield's shipbuilding. And
What?
Grail of space,
Alright, I didn't know that.
interiors, and even some EVA action. And so then these are the four main...
That's
pieces of the
amazing.
game. Star Citizen to me still feels like the unholy Antichrist due to the razzle-dazzle
Yeah, Starfield's shipbuilding was pretty much the only thing good about that game, period.
marketing and the copious amounts of money, while at the same time not producing an actual product. Well, at least it's pretty, I guess. And this year they've done, well, yet again the same, but different. Elite is going down the dark path, following Star Citizen of all things. Well, at least in terms of monetization. But hey, the fanboys can be happy and say that, oh, we're getting new ships and piddling amounts of updates, yay! And frankly speaking, the two games that are more and more calling my name are X4, which keep on ticking onwards, thanks to their honest and upfront monetization, with expansions that release good amounts of content, while No Man's Sky utterly dominates the positive vibes that make me wish every game and game studio was like this. Unequivocally lovable. A company that respects your time and even goes a step above. And
yeah, there's lots of exciting stuff out there. I'm going to link the video in chat, guys. Here you go. Definitely give him a like, give him a sub. I'm going to sub to this guy. That was good. That was fantastic. I love this stuff. Absolutely based. Huge W for all the devs working on stuff. Except for Elite Dangerous because it's not a real game. And yeah, everything else in here sounds like it's a big winner. Big winner. Massive W, massive shout out to the Yamix. I haven't seen any of his stuff before. Let's go ahead and ring the bell too. So, thanks for watching on the VOD Squad. If you're on the YouTube, leave a feedback comment in the comments below. Like and subscribe. And again, we are live here on YouTube, Twitch, and Kick. So join us for that in the future. Links will be in the description below. Until then, see you next time. Stay safe. Peace. Alright, you guys. That's going to do it for this stream. I think I have some obligations to get to with family. Obviously, with all the holidays around and all that. So, hope you guys had a good time. Love y'all. Peace. Stay safe. Keep it real. And we'll see you next time.